Hello, I'm Kelly O'Connell, attorney and author with Knockout Podcasts. I crave debate on politics, society, history, the arts, religion, and red-hot current dramas. Hang out with me and my intriguing guests while we examine our times. Hear my take and offer me yours. And please don't forget to subscribe. Hey, what's that noise? It's the murmur of confusion of millions as our political process falls apart. Is Babylon falling? In the aftermath of a crazy election during the midst of an undying virus, as the economy implodes, we now add yet, get this, completely open border and 4 new justices. It's absolutely crazy. That's just coming out in the last few days. The Democrats are going to try to put through 4 new justices so the Supreme Court becomes even larger and they get more basically very liberal people on it. It's going to be an absolute collapse of the democracy, or if you want to call it properly, it's going to be a collapse of the republic. Technically, that's what we're living in. Well, it's Kelly O'Connell. It's 4/16/2021. It's so great to spend some time with you. And let's go over a few things that are happening now, even in the southwest border, on the border of Texas and New Mexico, and the border of New Mexico and Texas and Mexico. We've got some crazy goings on, and everybody knows. Let me tell you, first thing that comes into my mind, though, is that Nancy Pelosi has brung out this idea for 4 new justices. Now, what does that mean? So you've got kind of a 5-judge majority now in a 9-person Supreme Court. And so the left, the Democrats, can't take this idea of not having the majority. They've had the majority for like 50 years, right? So they're going to bring in 4 justices, and they want to do it right now. They've got 4 years to work on this, but really just 2, and a couple of months have gone already. So they feel like most people believe they're going to lose the control of the House. So they've got to do every single thing that they can. So what are they doing to tip the balance in their favor? Well, number one is they've opened the borders, and the numbers of people that are coming in is catastrophic. And let me get you the numbers that I have here. CBS News, which is no fan of the Republicans, says their website, March 16th, which is about a month ago, Southwest border crossings on pace for highest level in 20 years, Biden administration claims. Border agents are encountering 565 unaccompanied migrant children crossing the border per day, up from 313 children per day last month. So it's going crazy. Why are they doing this? Because we're being told that they're not letting individual people come and stay, or families. They're sending those back to Mexico, but they're letting all the kids come in. But other people are saying, other experts are saying, they are basically letting everybody in except for about 3%. So it's hard to track this stuff and know whose numbers are right. But of course, I would trust those from the right. There's a backlog in the Border Patrol stations, and this is a month ago. 4,200 children in custody. About 3,000 of those children being held over the 72-hour legal limit. So think about this. We know that 10% of these people that are coming in have COVID, right? Now the border crossing is 6 times what it was when Obama said it was an absolute crisis, and they're not refusing to call it a crisis now. And that was from the Heritage site. But I'm looking now at the cbp.gov, the government site, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And I'm looking at 2020 they were doing well. They were doing less than 50,000 a month when they put in the changes that the Trump administration had put in, which was to stay in Mexico. That was part of it. And 2018 was just a little bit above that. 2019 spiked, but then it fell again down to where those other 2 years were it spiked up to about 140,000. You remember when those caravans were coming in. Well, look at it now. It is an absolutely straight line going up, and it's over 170,000 per month in climbing. So 170,000 a month, and 10% of those people have COVID. And COVID is down in the United States, but think about all these people that they're sending across the country. They're shipping them to various states. Now, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the murmur of confusion. And how would you like to be in a city on the border and have a group of people that are dropped off that are more than your town? I mean, how do you deal with it? So you've got these people coming in, and think about all the costs. You've got the costs, housing. You've got the house for any medical care. You've got the costs for transportation. And these kids are being taught too, and they're the only kids in America I know for sure that are being taught directly, and maybe those in Florida. So you've got massive costs. What is the game plan? I'm going to lay it out for you right now, my friends. You won't be surprised, those of you who know me. The title that I would give to this, if it was a movie, would be basically that the Democrats realize they can't win without breaking the system. So what do? They open the floodgates, and millions of people come in, and they're going to stay in, a lot of them in Texas, a lot of them in Arizona, some of them in New Mexico. They'll be coming into Florida. They're shipping them places. And the idea is at some point, Biden is going to give them citizenship. So even though most of them probably don't even speak English and can't possibly understand our politics, they'll be voting. And who do you think they're going to be voting for when they're wearing a Biden t-shirt when they get here? Is that crazy or what? I mean, so what should we do about this? I think that each state, the governor should deploy any police officers that they can down in these areas. They need to tell the U.S. government what Kristi Noem did up in what state is she in? She's in one of the Dakotas. She told them, we're not taking these illegals. So whatever reason they would tell you they changed the border. It was because they've got 2 years, or let's say a year and 8 months, to switch voting in America from 50-50 to majority Democrat. How do you do that? You put in a couple million new Democrats into these tight states like Texas, like Arizona, which are reliably usually Republican. So in the meantime, you've got pardon me, you've got these 4 new votes that are going to be brought into the Supreme Court, and we can't stop it. There's something like a 3-vote majority in the House. There is a 50-50 breakdown in the Senate. And so the vice president, the crazy Kamala, she gets to vote. So they can vote all of this stuff on just a 1 vote. And if you think about all of the things that they said that they cared about little kids being locked up in cages. Do they care about that? No, because now they're getting stacked like potatoes. They're wrapped up in tinfoil blankets. They're getting stacked like potatoes, and 10% of those kids are sick, which means they'll all get sick. This one thing is going to spread COVID back across America. So, I mean, it's really dire times, my friends. And, I'd like to ask you, what do you think we should do? It is really depressing to think about it, but what does it take to put in socialism? What is socialism? Socialism is basically control of the economy. I mean, forget all the definitions that you usually hear with this stuff. It is the government coming in and telling which businesses can run, which ones have to close down, like they did with COVID. And it is overrunning certain parts of the economy with new workers, like you have coming out of Mexico. It is paying people not to work, as we've done with these stimulus trillion. Think about it, trillion, my friends, trillions and trillions of dollars being given. So they're debasing the currency. What's going to be the impact of that? Well, everybody knows there's going to be inflation, and there's only one source of hyperinflation in the history of mankind, and that is from printing fiat, what they call fiat currency, which is just paper money, just deciding where you're going to have trillions of dollars, and it's not based on the gold standard, obviously. It's not based on that. It's based on need. And so the Democrats, even though the economy is roaring back into life because people are starting to go shopping again and they're back working, the economy is taking off. It's not where it was when Donald Trump was in office, but it's growing. We don't have to be giving all this money away, but what the Democrats want to do, what the liberals want to do, not all Democrats want to do this, but the liberals want to water down the money. It's like Kool-Aid. You make a gallon of Kool-Aid, and what do you do then if you're a Democrat? You pour it into a swimming pool, and you say, this is Kool-Aid for you. So that's what they're doing to the currency. Now, my friends, 8% rise in COVID cases to 490,000 cases last week. And this is published April 12th, so this is 3 days ago. At the end of April 11th, or at the week's end on April 11th, Michigan reported the highest number of new cases per capita of all 50 states. Now think about this. 2 states that we know of took their sick elderly and stuck them back in nursing homes, which is almost, it's like a factory to create more COVID. And that's what happened. Even though they did that, even though they sacrificed their seniors, Michigan's the worst. And is anything going to happen to Andrew Cuomo and to Whitman in Michigan? Only time will tell. But I mean, Cuomo has been molesting a lot of people, a lot of women. Now they say 39% of new cases in Michigan were of the more contagious B117 variety coming over from England. So now, U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention Director Rochelle Walensky said Michigan should shut down. Of course, that's always the answer, right? Well, to what extent does closing down help? Because they didn't close down in Florida, and Florida has always had better numbers than in Michigan. And the crazy thing is they have a lot more seniors. So something that Florida did that Michigan didn't do. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened. So what do you think we should do? I mean, what if we went in and said that we're not going to have any more closures, we're just going to play it out? Do you think it would go through the roof? It didn't in Florida. Why didn't it? They shut everything down in California. And now these governors in New York where they shut down, in California where they shut down, in Michigan where they shut down, they're all in trouble. They're trying to impeach or remove Gavin Newsom in California. They're going to get rid of one way or the other Cuomo. They're either going to get rid of him at the end of his term when he's not going to run again, but his numbers have fallen. And yet, even though he's molested, what is it? How many is it? It's up to 10 women who've come forward and given testimony that he molested them, he kissed them, he grabbed their boobs or whatever. He's still in there and people aren't talking about it anymore. So maybe that is the answer, that you don't quit. You say, to heck with you boo birds. I'm here to run this state. And what the kind of thing that he says is, I was voted in by the people, and only the people are going to remove me if I get removed. That's basically his opinion. So, and I'm looking at this new case average, 7-day average 209,000, which is a lot to me, but it starts March 1, 2020. So anyway, it looks like it's going up to me, but I don't even know how to read some of these charts. But currently hospitalized 40,000. Currently hospitalized in the United States for COVID. It was supposed to be millions, wasn't it? So it's a lot of this stuff is hard to follow. I've got all the states here though, in little squares, and I'm looking for your state is Doesn't look like it's on here. New York, and I think this is the population that's been vaccinated. New York, 41% has been vaccinated. In Florida, 36% has been vaccinated. Texas, 34%. New Mexico, 46%. We're up there. We're one of the highest states. New Hampshire, 56%. It's the highest state. So, and you're thinking, which states have a lower percent? Well, everybody's doing pretty well. Idaho, 31%. Wyoming, 31%. Indiana, 32%. Tennessee, 31%. Louisiana, 30%. Mississippi, 28%, 29%. Alabama, or is that Alaska? Looking, folks, looking. Oh, Alaska's 39%. So that's Alabama, 29%. So they're that and Mississippi are the lowest. So anyway, not to bore you, but first dose in the United States, 38% have had their dose from April 11th. And 198 million total doses. Fully vaccinated, 24%. So that's not bad. And, well, I could go on and on with these, but you're getting the feeling for that. So, Andrew Cuomo put all these elderly back into the nursing homes. Why? Just to make Trump look bad, but it killed tens of thousands of elderly. It's a really sad story. So, but let's talk a little bit about SCOTUS with 4 extra votes. What do you think about that? The thing that comes to mind with me is that Chief Justice John Roberts has tried to keep the court from being political. And he's tried to keep it from getting involved in a lot of stuff. And sadly, he failed at that because he ended up doing things like gay marriage, which was very political. And he refused to cancel Obamacare. He called the payment that you had to make if you didn't get if you didn't pay for it, you had to pay a penalty. He called that a tax. So he saved it when Obama would have been badly damaged and could have maybe kind of steered this whole progressive direction that the court has gone in, that the country has gone in. John Roberts could have personally kind of knocked it down, and yet he didn't. So why didn't he, folks? And my guess is he's kind of a weenie, and he's trying to play, he's trying to protect the court, and the upshot is that he harmed the court. How did he harm the court? He harmed the court by doing things the wrong way. He shouldn't have saved Obamacare, and everybody thought he was likely to say it was illegal, that the way it was constructed was illegal. So think about that. Obama would have been very badly damaged by that. He probably, quite likely, may not have been reelected. And then we have a whole brand new world. We don't have a country that is so far into leftism. So John Roberts has a lot to, he's done a terrible job as the chief judge. And he is just, they should have taken on some of these cases with the voting laws just so we could figure out if there was fraud, was there fraud in Pennsylvania. The Supreme Court didn't look into that, and then this guy in Arizona meant that the House of Representatives doesn't look into it. And then, in the middle of all this stuff, you've got Black Lives Matter, you've got Derek Chauvin trial, and maybe I felt terrible when I saw him with his knee on that guy's neck, but who wouldn't feel bad to see that? But was it murder? Maybe it was. I guess the jury will decide, but you got all this stuff that's going on Then you've got the riots on the 6th, not the 6th, but the 6th of January. And that was terrible. It was the worst thing that had ever happened in the history of the country. But there's rioting right now in the Democrats. There's burning, there's looting. The Democrats refuse to stand up against it because there's two rules. There's two laws out there. And so that's really, all of this stuff is leading me to a question about the rule of law. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the rule of law. What is the rule of law? It is the idea that law is preeminent, that the king or the president or members of Congress or billionaires, whatever group of people you're talking about, they are not more important than the law. And it's been an idea in the West for centuries. Experts trace it back to the Magna Carta, but I think the person that really had an impact on it was Lord Edward Coke, and he was dealing with the common law in England, and he said the common law will itself judge acts of Parliament, and it can even judge the activity, the decision-making by the king, and that was in the 1600s. So he put himself at considerable risk by doing this. So Coke was, Coke was considered to be the greatest lawyer and probably the greatest judge in the history of Britain, and certainly the greatest common law judge, and had a number of prominent positions. And his decision-making in cases is still with us today. Now, in America, more than 200 years ago, founding fathers Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay put together a number of essays called the Federalist Papers. In 78, they said the federal courts were, quote, designed to be an intermediate body between the people and their legislature in order to ensure the people's representatives acted only within the authority given to Congress under the Constitution. 78 then goes on to say further that if any law passed by Congress conflicts with the Constitution, quote, the Constitution ought to be preferred to the statute, the intention of the people to the intention of their agents. So the idea being that we have a Constitution, which everybody knows about, and that is an application of the rule of law. And it is an example of the rule of law. Any law that is made that is in conflict with the Constitution is therefore it's deemed to be illegal. Now, this is from a website called uscourts.gov. It is the government's own website. Now, what is the rule of law? The worldjusticeproject.org has 4 principles for the rule of law. Accountability. The government as well as private actors are accountable under the law. 2, just laws. The laws are clear, publicized, and stable. Applied evenly and protect fundamental rights, including security of persons and contract, property, and human rights. 3, open government. The processes by which the laws are enacted, administered, and enforced are accessible, fair, and efficient. And number 4, accessible justice. Justice is delivered timely by competent, ethical, and independent representatives and neutrals who are accessible, have adequate resources, and reflect the makeup of the communities they serve. So that's a good way to look at it. And then the ABA, American Bar Association, says that the rule of law is dependent upon an independent judiciary. It's necessary to ensure the rule of law is respected. And judicial independence means that judges are not subject to pressure and influence and are free to make impartial decisions based solely on fact and law. An independent judge can assure that your case will be decided according to the law and the facts and on a shifting political climate as we feel today. I mean, We're looking at these courts and saying, what's going on? Who's influencing who? Now, this does go back to the Magna Carta 1215, Article 39, if you want to look it up. So, way back in the history of England before Sir Edward Coke. And so anyway, when you see that the U.S. Supreme Court, the Court of Courts, is in danger of being watered down, how does that make you feel? Is it legal? Well, it does say in the Constitution that there would be a Supreme Court. It doesn't say how many members it would be, and the membership was already increased to be able to put more liberal justices on. Already FDR, and the more people you have on the court, the more unwieldy it is, and the more these people are likely to be influenced by politics, because they're looking to stick political players in there. And it's scary. It's scary to think that you're going to have a lot of people coming in and suddenly becoming instant Democrats. And they're going to be voting in these states. They're going to vote for the Democratic candidate, just vote for D. And it's just it's just a statement, though, about the nature of what's going on in this country, is that the Democrats have not been able to decisively beat the Republicans. And so what they've done is a number of things. And number one is they, in the last election, were involved in various states in changing their laws to make the laws more easily influenced. And so even though in the state itself, it was described, say, in Pennsylvania, that the courts couldn't do that, only the legislature could do it, because only the legislature is accountable, they went ahead and changed it anyway. So that's a disaster. And liberalism, Marxism, socialism is kind of like rust. If you have a ship, you have to constantly fight rust, because rust gets in there, it affects every open surface, and it begins to work and eat away and leach away the metal, and as that happens, the metal gets weak, and that's what it's exactly like in this country. Every single angle that they can go after, they've gone into the university systems and brought in Marxism, and they have done so to bring in professors, teachers, adjuncts who have fallen in love with Marxism. Even though Marxism is not effective in ruling in economics, it's a disaster when it's tried. They still have all of these universities across America. So kids, you're young and you're idealistic. You're looking for the truth. You're looking for something that you can give your life to. And a lot of these kids run into Marxism, and they're naive. And they take it in, and it feels right. You're fighting for the poor. You're fighting for justice. You're fighting against the rich and the powerful. And that's how it's sold. And what they don't tell you in these teaching sessions is that the people who come in and start socialist or Marxist societies are the ultimate power hogs, the ultimate power players, and are very corrupt, and there's no acknowledgement of human nature, of human worth. It is absolutely terrible. I mean, it's shocking. Well, a lot more to talk about, but that's today's show. And the show was supported by the Samuel Cain Law Firm. And give him a call. He's in the phone book. Thank you very much, and have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to carry on with these things. I'll tell you a lot more. Have a nice night. Ciao. Well, thanks for listening in. Tune in tomorrow for a new podcast on a sizzling topic or download one of my classics. Be blessed, and catch you soon, Kelly and the gang at Knockout Podcast.